Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to day 2 of our online webinars podcast sessions. Now, in today's session, your telemarketer is back, so I've got my headphones and my microphone, and we are going to cover everything related to chapter 3, which is all about e-models. Now, if you browse through the chapter, you're probably thinking to yourself, oh my word, this is so daunting, and what is this about, and when am I ever going to use this, and is it a whole bunch of theory? But what we're going to do is we're going to break it up into very simplified terms, and I'm going to explain to you the essence and the basis of what it's about. So same rules apply as yesterday. Find a nice quiet place, take down the notes, and if anytime you're confused, pause and rewind. I'll see you soon. All right, so let's get ready for some action. Now, for those of you who are following in the textbook, you can browse to chapter 3, and that starts on page 103. And as I've mentioned, you can make notes in your book on a sheet of paper, whichever you prefer. But before we actually dive into the content, I have a very big question to ask you. And that is, what is this all about? What is chapter 3 actually trying to tell us? What is the summary one sentence of what it's actually all about? So I'm going to give you 2 seconds to see. Have you got it? You're probably saying to yourself, oh, this woman's going to give me the answer, so why am I even going to try? But yes, I am going to give you the answer. And basically what it's all about is it's explaining the way a business does something. So it's the way a business operates and how it's going to deal with things. And in essence, it's the purpose and the way we do things. Are we starting an online platform to make money? Are we starting an online platform to engage with customers? Are we creating a whole bunch of digital strategies to create more awareness of our online value offering? So you have to understand your core strategy, and this is what this chapter is about. It's the core aspect of the way we do things and the purpose behind it all. Now, I want you to remember that everything we do is like this huge puzzle that we're building, and we can't forget the other pieces. So please remember what we did in our chapter 2 session, where we said the starting point of everything is the customer. So the way we do things and the way we function of a business is very much based on what the customer needs. So if we see that there's this growing demand for customers to engage or to network, then we've got to incorporate those things in our purpose. So always remember, what is it that the customer needs? How are they consuming information? What are their preferences? And then we develop a core strategy based on that. Okay, so let's dive right in. And this is a business module. So obviously, the first model that people always think about is the money maker, ladies and gentlemen. It's the revenue models. So many people develop sites or platforms or apps all with the aim of making big cash money. Now, the reason I've said it's going to be a recap on revenue models is this was addressed in the undergrad course, but I know maybe many of you haven't done it, so I'm going to just speak about this very basically. It's not one of the core functions of this module, but I have uploaded additional links on Blackboard for those who would like to read up more on it. Now, you can choose as a business, are you going to make people subscribe to your content? Are you going to have the whole pay-per-view so they can maybe click on what they're interested in and pay for that? Or are you going to use CPC advertising, cost per click? So let me show you a little bit about that. You can decide, all right, I've got a website and this is my page, and I am going to charge certain places as almost billboards or advertising space. And you can make businesses select which ad that they would want to actually use. All right, so based on that, let's move on to the next. So once a business has chosen an advertising space, they need to understand that the price they pay is very much determined to where the ad is placed. Now, the funny thing with us as consumers, we tend to ignore certain messages and banner ads, and some grab our attention a bit more. So determined by the placement on the site, that will influence the price that they land up paying. And then businesses can even bid for various ad spaces on your site. So this is a way that you, as maybe influencers or bloggers or potential businesses, could use your ad space on your website or your app as a place to generate revenue. So for those of you thinking, okay, who uses this? The next time you visit a site, go have a look. You might actually be oblivious to the fact that there's advertising in our faces every single day. But this is something like News24. Many people log onto this site at least once a day to go have a look at what's happening in terms of sport or business. And ladies and gents, look at these huge banner ads taking place over here. We've got ads from Outsurance. We've got ads over here by Hewlett. So there are constant little spaces of advertising, and these businesses are paying News24 for this space. And depending on the agreement with News24, they could have a cost per click or a cost per thousand, which is CPM. All these details I've loaded onto Blackboard so that you guys can see what the options are. And if this is something you're interested in, read up a little bit more about it and decide on a strategy that will work best for your business. All right, so we had one option where we actually sell ad space, but ladies and gents, this is an option that is used so often today, and this is something many of you often see and mention. Yes, it is your influencers and your affiliates. So they might not necessarily have a website, but maybe on their Instagram page, they use their little thumbnails or their live feed as advertising space. And you could actually pay them for that sponsored content or pay them an affiliate revenue. So if someone clicks on their little link or their story and goes to the site, they can get a cut of this revenue. So there's so many ways to make money online. And it's just about finding little places where you can either allow businesses to advertise or who you could use as affiliates. But wait, there's more. This is actually where a lot of businesses have seen a huge gap, and they realize that there's a lot of money in getting access to information because that serves as online research. So some of these apps, they don't charge you a fee. They don't charge you any subscription fee or pay-per-view. They say, okay, all you need to do is sign up. And when you sign up, you need to give your email address. So the business actually starts developing a huge database with these email addresses. Or they can actually get access to how you're using the app. And this is all through freemium. I can never say it, freemium. Sorry about that. Freemium models, where you can actually give them taster access or limited trials. And this way you can even get access to their data. Now remember, there's a lot of legal implications with this, of the world that we're living in now, and with all these Facebook sagas and court cases. People need to be informed that their data could be used. But we'll try get in a guest lecturer who specializes in the legal side of this. But for now, all you need to know is that it is a way that businesses can actually generate revenue from getting access to consumers' data. Okay, so maybe the chapter seems a little less daunting now. We've officially covered one model. We've got a few more to go. And the next one, ladies and gents, is on a completely different page, and it's almost about how you are going to help people find your business. So your entire focus as a company or as your online strategy is not to generate money, but it's to get people to your site. It's to get people to engage with your content. It's to get people to see what it is that you're offering online. And that is what the focus is for this entirely next model. All right, so I hope you're still with me. And the name of this model, the jargon that we're going to become experts in by the end of this course, is it's called the intermediary models. And what this basically says is, let's get out my pen so that I can document a few notes, is you've got your consumer segments, which we covered in chapter 2, and we're going to do a little bit more about this in chapter 4, where we find out who's using our products, what are their needs, how savvy are they online. And then we've got, on the other end, we've got our website. All right, we've got our OVP, what it is that we're offering. So we've created this beautiful site or app or blog or whatever it is, and we've got this amazing OVP. But this model is focused on how we are going to generate traffic to this. How are we going to get people to come and see us, to become aware of what our offering is? So are we going to make use of search engines, SEO, and then are we going to make use of intermediary site, whether it be affiliates, whether it be small bloggers, whether it be niche sites, whatever it is, that we get people coming to see our online offering, not only visiting our competitors, but coming to see us and what we're all about. Okay, what better way to explain this model? I'm hoping that it's simplified in your mind, but I'm going to show you an example in case you are sitting there with a few questions to wonder, okay, how does this apply in real life? So what happens is, this is where companies decide to make use of influencers that are specialists in a field. So I'm working with Polar. This is my business. I want people to come to the Polar website to actually have a look at what the watch is about and to actually buy it. So instead of just investing in a radio ad and telling people to come buy the watch online, I use this model to invest in influencers. So this is a runner. She has a blog and she's explaining why this watch is totally trendy at the moment and why it works so well. And at the end of her site, she's got a link to the Polar website where they can actually purchase the watch. And that way, it's generating traffic and helping people find what the Polar watch is all about. And it's also used over here by DC Rainmaker, another blogger, and he has a piece about it. And then on all these little links, he's got reviews and also links to the site. Again, generating that traffic to what it is you offer online and what it is that makes you unique. At this point, I wish I could see your faces to see if you're sitting in the lab or at home with a very confused look on your face, or perhaps if you've fallen asleep, or I just wish I could actually see if there's any concerns. But as I've mentioned, if you are confused about this, just jot it down and say, okay, intermediary model, please explain in class next week, or you can email me with a concern. All right, now very much linked to the intermediary model is another jargon term called the long tail. Now, this concept now and then confuses me. So if you're confused after the first explanation, I completely understand. I'll reiterate this information in classes when I see you again. But what this long tail basically tells you is nothing to do with any dog's tail or animal's tail. It's very much linked to this intermediary model in the sense that when people search, they have very much popular key phrase words that we use. And this is what we call the search head. All right, and it's the things that you often type into Google. But the search tail is what a lot of researchers have found adds a lot of volume in terms of sales. So they say to businesses, listen, don't only focus on what's popular. Use this, the search head and the search tail, to almost use recommendations on your sites to make people aware of the other offerings that you have. So let me show you an example to help clarify what this means. All right, so how this theory is used in real life, if we have a look at companies like Amazon or Netflix, they have a huge array of products that you might not even know that you're interested in or that you love. But you'd be Googling one thing, and then that becomes the search head, as we mentioned, and then they start to recommend, oh, because you've searched this, maybe you'd also like this, this, and this, and you become aware of all the other offerings that are available based on your preferences. And they found that this can sometimes contribute, okay, a small portion, but in many times it can contribute a huge portion of your revenue. And another example, also linked to this, will be coming up right now. All right, so this is something you most definitely have seen, because I'm sure at some or other point you've purchased something online. And if you haven't, I'm going to encourage you that by the end of this course, you try it at least once, because I want you to become almost comfortable with the online avenue of purchasing. Now, this is what Amazon does. So they say, oh, because you love Britney, you'll also love XYZ. And you can use strategies as a business to get people to progress through the long tail. And remember, let's link it back to the intermediary model where it says you want to help people find your content. You don't only offer Britney Spears, you offer everything else. And by using this long tail and the intermediary models, you can help people to say, oh, we'll give you a discount if you order this with this, or because you like this, we recommend that. So it's finding ways to get people to be aware of the huge variety of products you offer, or to get people to find your OVP. All right, at this point, we've covered two. All right, so I'm going to keep recapping. If you understand what it means, you just click onto the next slide or fast forward a bit. But we've done revenue models, which means you're going to use your online platforms or apps or websites to generate money, or you're going to use an intermediary model, which means your whole strategy is going to be about helping people find your OVP. Whether you're going to use affiliates or bloggers, or you're going to use SEO or the long tail, your job is to get people to find more of your products and experience more of your digital offering. If there's questions, now's the time to ask. Just kidding, I can't hear you. Okay, this is a very lame lecture joke, but let's move on to the next model. Okay, now to help you understand what the next model is about, I want you to think for a second on how you buy things. Okay, so each of you are completely different. We've got different genders and ages and races in our class, and let's have a look. All right, how is it that we buy? The men, maybe they just walk into a mall, go into one shop, purchase what they want, and leave. Ladies, maybe we go have a look at different blogs and vlogs. We have a look at different reviews. We look at the online store to see if there's specials. Then we look at the offline store. So there's so many different ways in which people buy. And there's different journeys that they take. Some people prefer to go to one online store and order from there. Others hate purchasing online. And then we've got people who do research online and then they go offline. So this whole model is going to address the way we buy. And they've developed a model to help facilitate that process. All right, so remember we said that as consumers, we buy in different ways and we follow different journeys. And that is what this model is all about. And it's referred to as the attribution model. And it's this little funky looking funnel shape, and what it's basically telling you is that to get to a consumer's website to actually purchase, we don't all do it in the same way. Some of us will maybe see a really cool post of someone on social media, and that gets us going to Zappos. Maybe it's a Zappos sponsored content. Others will maybe go and Google shoes, and that gets us to go to Zappos. Or some of us go and look at a network banner ad and say, okay, cool. And that gets us going there. And then some of us actually search for Zappos. So we are going to see that there are many different ways of getting to your site. Like we said, all of us shop in different ways. Some of us go search on Google, some of us go browse on Facebook or Instagram, and we need to be aware of these different ways so that we know what is actually converting our customer to our site, and we need to invest accordingly. So what I'm going to show you next is an outcome or an output of the data, the behind the scenes from Google Analytics, that's going to help you see what is actually assisting in these conversions. All right, and as I mentioned, this is an example of the Google Analytics, and when you have your own site, you're going to be able to see all this information, and it actually tells you, okay, with your website, what is actually assisting the conversion? How many people are conducting an organic search for you? How many people are actually connecting to your site via social media? How many are actually clicking on banner ads? And these are the exact numbers. Now, the most important thing for me is I think most of you understand this. You understand what referrals are, organic searches, or paid ads. But what I don't know is whether you understand what an assisted conversion is. And that's important to understanding what this model is. So let me let you struggle for a few seconds. What is this assisted conversion? And I think many of you are going to go Google this right now. And I beat you to it. I went onto Google so that I could actually show you. When you Google it, it explains this. All right, so let's quickly have a look here. As defined by Google itself, since it's Google Analytics, assisted conversions are the number of sales or conversions the channel assisted. If a channel appears anywhere except on the final interaction on a conversion path, and that will be then considered as the assisted conversion. Okay, so these got as simpler terms. Assisted conversions are the interactions that a customer has with a website leading up to a conversion, but it's not the final interaction. These assistants are assigned a value based on the transaction that they contribute in order to help assign a value to the contribution. Okay, so whoa, big terms here. It's the number of conversions before the final interaction. It's the interactions that a customer has with the website leading to the conversion, but it's not the final interaction. So some of you are getting it, but some of you are like, huh? I totally don't get this. Okay, so I thought let's have a little bit of an example. So we've got a user pretty lady over here, she's busy shopping, and she has 3 separate interactions with the website. First, she sees a text ad and she clicks through to the site. She then gets the information that she needs and she leaves. Later, the same lady, she's then searching on Google Shopping and comes back to the site via a product ad, and then exits to do some more comparison shopping. So the first thing is she's browsing and she sees a text ad. From the text ad, she gets to the site. She leaves. Later, she's still not sure, goes via Google Shopping, gets to the same ad again, leaves because she wants to compare some more. And finally, she types the web address because she's been there a few times and she's like, oh, I remember that site. And she goes directly to the site to make a purchase. Okay, so this is the scenario. Very nice question to ask in a test, to ask you to help me identify who the assisted conversions are. So in this situation, the direct visit will be attributed as the normal conversion, and both the shopping campaign and the text ad will be the assisted conversions. Is this making sense? So this text ad that she saw first, that took her to the site, it didn't lead to the final conversion, but it made her aware of it. Then later, she went on via Google Shopping. It took her again to the same ad, but she still had a bit of doubt, so she did more shopping. So that was the second assisted conversion. And then the final transaction came from the direct visit. You see, then she directly visited and she actually bought something. So it's about understanding what gets people to come to your site. And remember that it could be a little bit confusing because there could be some overlaps and things like that, which I'm going to explain now. But in essence, it's what's getting people to come to your site. And remember that consumer psychology that we spoke about, it's getting that awareness in their mind, and they keep seeing your site after the text ad, after the Google search. And then finally, they conduct a direct search, they go to your site, and they conduct a transaction. But the thing is, what do we do with this information? So I hope maybe you answered it to yourselves now. What do we do with this model? What's the point of knowing, okay, the text ad helped with this, and the Facebook ad with this, and the Google search? It helps you as businesses to know where to invest. Yes, digital advertising is way cheaper than traditional, but you still need to be smart in knowing where to invest. So I've got a little bit of a test your knowledge coming up. Let's see. All right, looking at this, remember, this is going to be given to you from Google Analytics. You're going to be able to see what's happening here. And from this information, I want to find out from you. Number one, what does this mean? So I'm not going to spell this out. No, it's going to take too long. What does it mean? And then, number two, once you know what it means, what would you invest in? Okay, so these are the two things. I'm literally going to sit here in quiet anticipation until those brain coils start to work, and you can tell me, number one, what does this data actually mean? And number two, what would you invest in, knowing the insights from the attribution model? I'm waiting in anticipation. 5 hours later. All right, let's get to the answer. So what this basically means, number one, is that many people are aware of your offering. So they are going directly to your site. That's what it means, number one. And number two, what it also means is that you have a really good SEO strategy, because they're not necessarily searching for your brand name, but they're searching for offerings that you have, and that's contributing to a lot of conversions. So knowing this, what I would invest in is, number one, keep building that brand awareness. Keep people knowing about us, advertising wherever you can, that they will eventually go directly to your site. Keeping your site URL easy, Nike, and I can go directly to you. And then also developing in really good SEO terms, understanding how your consumers search, what are their desires, because we see that contributes a lot. So keep investing in the SEO. But we're going to have a guest speaker on that you really understand how you can use SEO to your advantage. Right, so I'm hoping at the end of this example and this explanation that you understand that when you look at your assisted conversions, it's looking at everyone that helped get people to our site, that helped bring that traffic and that helped convert them. And what really is awesome when you have your Google Analytics page open, you can actually see the consistent or how I said, the assisted conversion value, and how much we paid and what is it that we actually get out of it. This is awesome for businesses, for planning, for understanding where to invest in. But remember, adding up these values will not provide you with your store revenue, because some of them could be duplicated assists. Because sometimes someone can also have an search engine optimization plus an organic search plus a direct search. So some of these values overlap, as I mentioned earlier. So don't go add up all these values and say, ka-ching, I'm a millionaire. It doesn't necessarily work like that. But what it does show us is that it helps you understand where are you getting most value and what you should invest in. So in summary, attribution model is knowing who to attribute, who to say thank you to, who is bringing that traffic to our site, and investing accordingly. All right, guys, I think we are getting over the most difficult ones, because these are ones that students often find easier because it's things that you use on a daily basis. So revenue model out of the way, intermediary model out of the way, and attribution model out of the way. So 3 are done. I think we've got about 3 left, and they are a lot simpler. All right, so this is a very simple thing. I'm sure you have covered this in communication many times. It's those sites whose main purpose is all about communication. Their whole philosophy, the way they do things, the way their app is set up, and their website, and whatever platforms they have, it's all about communicating. And nowadays, it's not only one way, it's also two-way communication that businesses invest in, using a website where you can go on and get live chat help, or you can leave reviews, or you can communicate with other users. And another big thing, and this is coming up more and more every day, is the use of opinion leaders. So you can see that it's evident from the business strategy that opinion leaders are integrated into their purpose. And I start to think to myself, why are opinion leaders such a craze? And as I speak about them year by year, they become more and more popular. And I know some of the students I'm working with are doing research on this. And what's amazing about opinion leaders is if I use them and I'm a business, I get reach to people that I could never reach before. And it almost creates this web of huge interactions and engagement and reach far more than what we could. And what's amazing, like I said, it's not only one-way communication where your message is sent to customers, but it's engaging in content, user-generated content, another jargon piece that we are going to throw around in presentations. I'm tongue-tied there for a second, but it's referred to as UGC. And this is what communication models are. If your client or if a business is using all their online touch points to communicate with users, to get them to generate content, to have conversations, then you know that they're using a communication model. Now I'm going to give you a second or two to think which business comes to mind first. The first one that isn't popping up in your mind right now, who is that? Who do you think is using this communication model so well? I think this is my all-time favorite, and it's actually my husband that's a huge Nike fan and not necessarily myself, but they've done it so well. They get it. And yes, they have platforms where they sell products. So they've got maybe their website where it's focused on generating revenue and sales and all of that. But they also have apps, which is their Nike Plus app. And they said, okay, this is not about selling. This is about connecting and communicating. And what's awesome is they almost collaborate with experts. So these experts become their opinion leaders and they help generate content. They tell you how to train or how to run. And with this content from your expert, you're getting reach to more people, hence the communication model. And what's really awesome is with these Nike Run Clubs, people are sharing their content. So we have user-generated content coming in. They're sharing about the runs they have. They are connecting with other runners, sharing about events. And this is a brilliant, brilliant example of a communication model. Using this platform to connect with people, to share your message as Nike, but at the same way, in the same time, to get access to what your users are feeling, what are they experiencing, and getting that content to generate more brand awareness. All right, so if there are questions, now's the time to jot them down. But luckily, I think the communication model is quite simple. It's something where exposed to on the daily. We're used to opinion leaders and influencers, and we've seen how businesses use platforms to share a message and collaborate with consumers, or let's say, hear their voice. All right, the next one is something we're also quite familiar with, and that is all about information processing. And research shows that in order for a message to stand out in our mind, we need to be exposed to it. So you guys can refer back to all the consumer behavior things that we did with perception and awareness. Once we're exposed, it has to grab our attention. Then, linking, like I said, back to perception, we need to accept the message, and then we need to retain it. So these are things that we've covered in your first semester. But what happens is there are businesses that base their entire philosophy on this process, on the information process, and they develop models on this, and the model is based exactly on this. Their whole philosophy of their app or their digital touch points is to get you exposed to messages, to get you to pay attention, to go, ooh, I like this, and to retain that connection with the customer. So this is very much linked to consumer psychology. And what better way to bring this model to life than with a simple example? Okay, so remember, this whole model is for a business who aims to get their message out there. They don't want to sell products. They don't want to communicate with you. They don't want to hear your point of view. They don't want to generate traffic through influencers. They want you to be exposed to their message and be like, I like this. This is awesome. And to get your attention from that. And one company who did this brilliantly is good old L'Oreal. Now, I think they've discontinued this app. I've tried to download the latest version. It's called the Makeup Genius. And what they did here is they're not really wanting to focus on the selling of these products, but they want you to experience what it's like. So they allow you to actually, I made her look like a clown now, but you take a photo of yourself, and from that, they allow you to almost trial out the different products. And this way, it exposes you to what the products are. It makes you aware of it. It grabs your attention. And hopefully, through this app, you are triggered to buy later. All right. So this is an awesome way to expose people to your message. Guys, we don't have to be boring anymore. We're living in a world where technology allows our message to be interactive. And like I said earlier in chapter 2, your phone or the consumer's phone is the billboard. Make your message engaging. And this is what some businesses have done brilliantly. And who remembers the consumer decision-making process? So we knew a part of that process is information processing. So this model is almost a continuation of the previous model. But remember, if a business is using an information processing model, their main focus is to convey information in an interactive, standout manner. Then this next model, which is the buying model, doesn't only stop at information processing. They add initiatives to help you buy and to make you feel like you've made the right decision. Okay, so I'm going to repeat it once more in case you lost me. The first model is all about, not the first one, but the one we just covered, information processing, looks at this stage. They focus on ways to convey information to their clients, and all their digital strategies are focused on that. Whereas the next part, which is the buying models, focuses on this lower end of the decision-making process. It looks at how you can make sure that you're making the right choice and make you feel that you're satisfied with your decision. All right, so this is again linking back to consumer behavior, and hopefully by the time you leave Honors, if you can integrate everything you've learned, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, super empowered. All right, so the question in your mind right now is probably like, great, all right, ma'am explained everything, but how exactly will you use the decision-making process in your online strategy? So let me show you what businesses do. They brainstorm with you. This is what we're going to cover in chapter 4, which is something I love so much, which is the customer journey. And they look at, all right, what can we do with our digital touch points to help people discover us? Then they look at, all right, if we need to stand out from competition, what can we do to help people make us seem better, or make us stand out in their mind. And we can look at ways of how can we convey our reviews, how can we engage with them better. Then afterwards we look at how we're going to help them feel that they've made the right decision with purchase validation or sentiment. And then lastly, how are we going to keep them connected with our brand? How are we going to foster that loyalty and that commitment that they keep wanting to interact with us? So you see, they don't only stop with getting information. This next model is all about this loop and getting them to consistently want to deal with us and see value in our brand and engage with us. I'm going to show you some examples now. All right, so a business that actually uses this decision-making model is here by my virtual model. And what they do is they take everything, not only from need recognition, but all the way through to post-purchase. And they help you, number one, to select products. Then they show you, okay, what you could wear it with. Then what's really awesome is their recommendations, which help you not only to evaluate, but after you've bought it to be like, let me go back and see, what did people say? How else can I wear it? So they help you through the entire journey from start, from activating the need, because maybe I came just to buy a jacket, but after this I'm like, ooh, I really need a new lipstick or new accessories. So they trigger the need with their strategy, and then they have little things down here which keep you interacting with the brand and making you feel like you've made the right choice. Ladies and gentlemen, we are drawing so close to the end. And this last portion of models are things, once again, that you're familiar with, but we're going to look at what we call the loyalty model. So these are for businesses who are going to use their digital platforms to nurture their loyal customers. They're not going to use their digital platforms to make revenue or to drive traffic to their site, because maybe they've got enough customers coming to their site. The biggest thing that they want is they want to use, whether it be their app or their website or their social media pages or whatever it is, they want to use that to foster loyalty. Now let's have a look at how. All right, so the fundamental things that we have to look at when we want to develop a loyalty model. So say for your client, you think this is the best approach. They've got enough customers. Their biggest job is to focus on enhancing loyalty. Then you have to look at what we call the IDIC framework. And what it basically means is you look at 4 core things. Number 1, identifying who are the customers that you are wanting to focus on, who are the most loyal, and really understanding them better. Because you're going to give these guys access to your app or your website or your exclusive digital platforms. So it's about finding who are the ones you want to invest in. Number 2 is we need to remember that customers are differentiated in terms of their values and needs. So maybe someone lower on the loyalty chain has different needs than to someone who's high up on the loyalty chain. So if you think of Voyager Miles or these Emirates loyalty programs, the guy that's got huge amounts of points because he travels first or business class has completely different needs to someone who's maybe gathered certain points traveling economy class. So we need to know what are the different needs of our different customers, because we might both be loyal, but you and I might have different needs. Then number 3, which is the second last element of the framework, is we look at how we're going to interact with these guys in order to get to know them better, and how are we going to enhance the value that they see in our company. And then number 4 is customize. How are we going to customize the offering to meet their expectations? So the essence of this framework is really about understanding our loyal guys, understanding that we've got different ranges of loyalty, interacting with them, and providing unique customized value to them. So once the IDC framework has been considered and you've really found who your loyal customers are and how you're going to use your digital platforms to interact with them, we can then keep these things in mind. Number 1 is you need to remember that consumers consolidate over time the number of sites they visit. This means that I will only go to the sites where I feel I'm getting value. So some of you will log on to Instagram, you'll maybe go onto your Discovery app or your Vodacom app, but you'll visit 1 or 2 sites or 3 sites that you feel you get the most value from. And all those novel ones or the ones that have no value, over time they fizzle out. So when you're looking at a loyalty model, you have to find ways to keep people coming back. And the ways they do this is a lot of them offer exclusive rewards or one-day only vouchers or certain specials that keep you coming back. And as mentioned by one of the students, I'm getting the name here. For those of you who want to go have a look, this is awesome. It's AliExpress. And I think they are doing an amazing, amazing job. So thanks to our student, Yolinda, who mentioned this. I'm writing it out here. Express. So they created this whole tree thing where you have to log onto the site to keep nurturing the trees, and you get different rewards and coins and vouchers and incentives to keep coming back. And this is an underlying model that AliExpress has used to ensure that even though consumers don't visit all the sites, that they make sure AliExpress is the one they keep visiting. And we need to ensure that over time we transform our loyal customers into advocates. We get them to share word of mouth, to share reviews, and AliExpress has done this as well. They give you certain points or scores if you comment or share or leave a review, and this way they're generating great loyalty, not only in ensuring the customers keep coming back, but also in ensuring that they become advocates for the brand. So my challenge to you guys is go and have a look at AliExpress. Go download the app. It is free. And then the next time we're in class, we can have a little bit of a chat about that. And just to provide you with another example so that you can see the context of all of this is the whole Vitality reward system offered by Discovery. And their whole app is devoted to nurturing loyalty. And everything from redeeming your rewards, looking at your history, engaging or seeing where your status is compared to that of your friends, how far you are from your next target. So it's all ways of keeping people engaged, ensuring they keep logging on, giving them content that entices them and keep them engaging with the brand. So this is amazing to see all the options available to a business of what you could actually do online. Our second last model, guys, we are so close to the end. So stretch those arms and don't give up just yet. We're so close to the end. Now, with a lot of social media things, you guys are experts in this. You're a generation that has grown up with social media. But I do a lot of social media detail when we go into chapter 5. So I'm not going to explain too much about this because we'll dive into that later. But what I found interesting was the 90, the 9, and the 1 rule. So they say that 90% of people on social media platforms are lurkers. Yeah, I'm looking at you guys, because that means 90% of our class are just lurkers. I see ya. And 9% are what we call intermittent contributors. They will contribute when they want, occasionally, not all the time. And then that 1% is the one that's always contributing and generating content and interacting with the business. So we need to keep this in mind. Many businesses have these Facebook pages and they boost their posts and they create sponsored content, but most people are going to see it, lurk, great, interesting. Maybe some will like and share, and only 1% will be the true contributor. So keep this in mind for when we dive into social media in a few weeks. And that gets us to the very last model. Woo-hoo! Can do a little victory dance in my office right now, and you can do a victory dance knowing you survived this. So this is what we call the ladder of engagement. And this model, so remember, each model has got a different purpose. So some want to encourage communication, others want to encourage decision making, others want to stimulate loyalty. With this model, it's all about triggering engagement. So they use a collection of different online platforms to make sure that people move from generating reviews and ratings to becoming co-contributors and collaborating. Now, I want you to think of a business of who's using this, who is getting their customers or business partners not only to leave reviews, but to sell products, to co-create ideas. I'll give you a few seconds to think about that. All right, and these are some of the examples. Now, TripAdvisor is absolutely amazing. Since I love to travel, this is a site that I make sure I visit, not only for itineraries, but also to have a look at good places to eat, decent places to stay, things to do, you name it. And how it initially started was it was a review site. And they used this ladder of engagement to make sure that they became more than just a review site. So yes, people leave reviews, but now they've collaborated with different businesses that offer flights. They've collaborated with holiday homes. So now these businesses have become their partners, which is absolutely amazing. And even consumers, they can become contributors. So yes, they can leave reviews and they can provide that content, but there's a rating scale for your contributors to help them grow. Again, there's that whole ladder of engagement. And lastly, another example of the ladder of engagement. So remember, these apps have got, or apps or digital platforms focus entirely on not only getting reviews and feedback from your customers, but collaborating with them, whether it be funding ideas together, working together with people. So that is what the ladder of engagement is about. More than just a conversation, it's about practicing business together. And this is an awesome concept for any of you who have a passion for graphic and content and creative projects. It's called Kickstarter, and people create different ideas, and you can actually see how many people back you up. People can actually contribute and fund your various projects, and you can actually co-collaborate with other creatives, with businesses who are willing to invest with you, and you can get reviews and feedback to see what people think. So there's a wide array of options that you can use when it comes to the ladder of engagement. But ultimately, it's moving from getting people to rate your products and getting them all the way to collaborating and forming new offerings for the target market. And that brings us officially to the end of our second presentation, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you for your patience once again for sitting through another class. I will be getting your feedback in this regard if you feel that this has helped you and if you would like more of this in the future. But just to sum up what this chapter was all about, it's about the purpose and the why. What are we doing with our online platforms? We've got to know why we're creating it. Are we creating it to make money? So we're going to have a blog and we're going to ensure that we sell advertising space and we're going to build a good readership. Or are we going to use it to almost serve as an intermediary? We're going to have subcategories. We're going to invest in SEO. We're going to invest in affiliates to make sure that people come and see our online value proposition. Or are we going to look at the attribution models where we look at who is actually bringing the most traffic to our online site and investing in them? Then we've got apps that we can use to stimulate interest with good information. We can help facilitate the decision-making process. And there was even ways that we can use apps to build loyalty. So when you finish reading this chapter, I want you to realize that you've got to understand the why behind your digital platforms. If your client already has a platform, but their purpose is unclear, help refine it for them. Tell them the purpose of this app is to build loyalty, or it's to enhance engagement with your target market. Because once you understand the purpose, we can develop brilliant tactics and strategies to bring it to life. But we've got to have that good foundation. And this is what this chapter is telling you, ensuring that you have that clear focus of what's going to be the strategy and the purpose behind all your digital platforms. So I just want to say thank you once again. It was a pleasure to conduct this session, even though I couldn't see your faces or engage with any of you. But I hope that this will bring clarity to any who are frightened or, how can I say, not distressed by the jargon, but that this simplifies what digital marketing is about. And it's actually quite simple if we get to the basis of it. So if you have any questions, here are all my contact details. Either I'll address them in class when I see you again, or you're welcome to set an appointment or send an email. See you all soon.